It's Parenting Month here on The Jam, so all month long we're tackling topics that matter to moms and dads. And today we're talking about a tough one. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, these are all social media websites that can be fun to interact with your friends on, but these sites can also prove to be dangerous and even life-threatening to our children. And we have our expert in this morning, Randy Schaefer from the Chicago Tribune. Hello, and thanks for being here.
Good to be here.
This is an important topic, and you actually have some life-changing tips to share with parents this morning. We know that things are so different, even from when we were children, and we're fairly young, even 10 years ago. Technology and how children are using it, social media, it's changing rapidly. And our parenting needs obviously need to reflect the needs of our children today. So let's get started with our first example. We have 3 examples of how social media is different and can negatively impact your child's future, and what can we do to help prevent that. So we know that our first, according to new data, 35% of college admissions officers check social media to learn more about candidates. Now, obviously, if you don't have a profile with a positive image of yourself, this could be a problem. So there are people missing out on opportunities with jobs and colleges because of this.
Right, and this actually just happened last summer when Harvard actually rescinded the admissions offers for 10 or 12 students just based on what they had shared in a Facebook group. And they thought that it was private. They thought that, it was a secret group for new Harvard admittance, but what happened was people were screenshotting. And this is kind of a thing, privacy settings are great. Facebook does allow you to set friends, family only, but things can be screenshotted, and anything you put on the internet is, it's out there. You can't really take it back once it's out there.
For sure. We have our tips here, you guys, that Randy sent us. And you're telling us that people need to remain worried of the privacy settings. And you're also saying, but you don't have to tell your teens to get off of social media.
Right. And, like you were saying, admissions officers, they do look at social media, and a positive image can be a good thing. There are actually, while 42% of admittants say that negative things kind of did affect admissions, 47% of admissions officers said that what they saw on Facebook or what they saw on social media did actually really help kind of push somebody into the admittance realm.
Okay, so you want to not necessarily make them get off, but encourage them the right way to use
no
it,
drinking photos, photos of volunteering, photos of talking with friends, good photos.
Good stuff. All right, our second example is definitely a lot more serious. This is a 14-year-old India Martin. She was shot and killed in 2014. News reports say that an argument started on Facebook over a boy. That's when the group of young people decided to meet up for a fight in the back of the Yards neighborhood on the south side here in Chicago. That's when India was killed and another young girl injured when both were trying to run away. And so, Randy, this is certainly a tragedy that we as parents in a community have to learn from. There's no other way around it. What can parents teach their kids about conflict resolution, but also cyberbullying?
So I think one of the biggest things is for parents to be involved in their children's online lives. When we were growing up, our parents, they knew who our friends were. Parents knew who their kids' friends were. I don't think that should be any different just because kids are interacting more online than they are in real life. Don't be afraid to set limits. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I need to be your friend on Facebook. I need to see who your friends are. Who are you talking to? And also, I think that parents should kind of be aware of bullying signs. They should kind of be able to see some of these signs that are going on, and they should save them, most importantly. Print or download or screenshot some of the stuff you see going on. You can kind of stave off what might happen, the inevitable, if you save these to take to perhaps like a school counselor or something kind of along those lines.
I like one tip you gave there. It said, know your child's friends. Their friends in real life will know their friends online as well.
Right, exactly.
Nice, good tips there. All right, our third example actually involves 16-year-old Corey Walgren. Now, Corey, in January of last year, was called into a Naperville North High School, an official's office, and that's when Corey was questioned about possible images of a sexual encounter with a 16-year-old girl on his phone. Corey faced harsh questioning and was told that he could face child pornography charges. And while waiting for his mom to come to the school, he left the school, walked to a nearby parking garage, and then jumped 5 stories, killing himself. This is a story of a boy that committed suicide because he was afraid of the repercussions of what could come by having a video of them allegedly having sex together.
Right, and a lot of what happened is he didn't really know those repercussions. And I think that the biggest thing when it comes to your kid and graphic images on social media, especially with apps like Snapchat and Instagram stories, is to just teach your kids and let them know the consequences of their actions.
And these stories are tough because these are children right here in our area. I'm sure no parent thought that social media was going to lead to the death of their child.
Right, and I can't even imagine how horrible that must be. But you know, things like this are kind of preventable, I think, if you just educate your kid about, you know, these are child pornography charges, and even though you don't really think of it as something like that, it can be pretty serious.
And we have the tips here that you're reminding parents to use. Of course, they can monitor software and set cell phone limits, and not hesitate to block apps. But one of the most important here, educate, talking to your children.
Right, absolutely. And yeah, you know, apps are really great. There are some things like Net Nanny is a good example of, you can block certain apps on your children's phones. So, you know, Snapchat and Facebook, you actually have to be 13 to have an account. So if your kid's 12, don't hesitate to use these software programs to block, you know, Android or iOS or desktop apps.
Yeah, and also being aware of the legal ramifications of some of these things, you know, happening on social.
Yes, and have an open relationship with your kid. You know, you've got to trust each other.
All right, Randy Schaefer, thank you so much for being here. Important tips for our children.